every single day we're going to be going live on my personal channel. We're going to go live on BPI. This is for a multitude of reasons. I would say number one is to make me comfortable, just ad-libbing, just thinking of a topic and just going riffing off of it. I'm going to make sure that my phone is off. It is. Perfect. So really what this comes down to is, I live in New York City. There's a lot of people. Okay, and when you see a lot of people, you kind of get a taste of the world. So in other words, I remember hearing a subject, and it was one of the top brokers in New York City. He said, I represent so many owners and I have so much business that I actually have a good idea of what the marketplace is because I see it all. I see how the rentals are doing, I'm seeing how the sales are doing, I'm seeing how the listings are doing. It's the same thing in New York City. It's like, what's the general state of people's attitudes? What's their general state of just their facial expressions, their body language, their humor, their excitement, and everything like that when you're seeing so many different types of people walking around? The number one thing that I see a lot is that they're unhappy, especially in the morning. Mainly in the morning. And this is really where it comes down to is I've been thinking about this for a while. Is why in the morning? Why are you so unhappy in the morning? And I'm not saying everyone, I'm saying literally almost 95, 96% of the people. And I'll just clarify this. I'll actually just preface this is that where my office is, so I come from the gym, I go get my oatmeal and I go to work. Where my office is, there's a street that literally people are just coming right off of the train and going into work. So they're getting off the train, they're likely commuting, probably not from in the city, but outside of the city, because a lot of people that are in the city, they either go to the gym or they do something else besides just come into the city. Because if you live outside the city, you have to wake up early, you have to have your breakfast, you have to get ready, you have to get on the train. That's a 45-minute commute. So by the time they land in New York City, they were probably up at, I don't know, 6, 5:45, depends if you have kids and whatnot. But it's really interesting. So there's two things I'm going to be talking about on happiness is that number one, it's a state. It's a state. It's a state that it's temporary. It's not forever. If it is forever, that's depression, that's anxiety, that's stress, that's ongoing stress. It's that poison drip that I've talked about before. And this is really what it comes down to is you have to understand, you and me, is that it is temporary. And everything is temporary. Your happiness is temporary, your wealth is temporary, your enjoyment, your elation, your sadness. All those things are just temporary feelings that you have right now. That doesn't mean tomorrow or in an hour or in 5 hours, because if you hear news that a deal is going through, you're gonna feel elation, and then 2 hours later you hear the deal's not going through. Say you're in real estate, say you're in business, say you're in a relationship, and so you're having an amazing day, and then your spouse says, actually I have some bad news. Immediately your state changes. So number one is that if you could turn on and off your feelings and emotions, say happiness, you can turn on and off your emotions of happiness, okay? So in other words, they choose to actually be unhappy. They choose to go to work unhappy. They choose, I'll give you this example. So I was actually on Facebook yesterday and someone posted about that she was very unhappy and that she was going through a very stressful time, with her job, and she was a dog mom and her husband and all these things. And I was thinking about it and I said, those things you chose to be a wife. You chose to be a dog. I choose not to be a husband. I choose not to have a dog. She chose a very difficult career. I chose a difficult career that I didn't like and then I left. That was finance. So you're choosing not only the states that you're in, you're choosing the outcomes of those states. So say your dog wants to go for a walk when it's snowing or raining, or he has to go to the bathroom and you have to go for a walk and you don't want to go for the walk. You chose that situation, number one. Number two is you're also choosing the state to be in. So if you're relying on that dog, if you're relying on your job, if you're relying on your husband or wife to give you the happiness or the emotions that you want, you're always going to be chasing that. It's the same thing with money. It's the same thing with fame. There's always someone going to be better, someone with more followers, someone with a better idea, someone with more breadth on their or depth on their influence. The Rock, most influential actor right now, and also the highest paid. Okay, so he's at the pinnacle. Who does he compete with? Himself. Same thing with Michael Jordan. Same thing with Kobe. Those guys competed with themselves over anyone else. So number one is you have to understand that it's a state, that is temporary, and you choose it. I choose to walk in to work happy, okay? There's a deal that is completely falling apart right now. I could choose to not be happy. I could choose to be happy. All right, so that's number one. Number two is, this is probably one of the most important things you'll ever hear. It hit me like a ton of bricks, or it could just completely go over your head. I have no idea. But number two is that unhappiness comes from the state of not living up to your potential. Not living up to your potential. Your potential in a multitude of areas, on where you wanted to be with your body, with your wealth, with your relationships, with your happiness, with your kindness, with your giving, with your following, with your blog, with your business. Doesn't matter. And this is the thing is, with humans, we're always looking to improve an area that we're lacking. So if we see an area that we're lacking, number one, we're always looking to not only improve it, but we're saying, this is where I want to be. This is where I am. That gap is the unhappiness. If it's right about here, you're going to be elated because you're saying, I'm living into my full potential. And by the way, it's your potential. It's not your parents, society, school, anyone else. It is yours. It is your potential. You know, I forgot who gave the example. It might have been Lewis Howes, but he had someone on his podcast, and they said, if you, actually no, it wasn't Lewis, I forgot who it was, but they said, if you're driving, no, it was Simon Sinek, and they said, if you're driving a bus, if you are a school crosswalker, and you ensure that every single child or every single passenger of your bus leaves better than they arrived, that is living to your full potential. It doesn't matter about the influence, it matters about what you think the potential is. All right, so I'm gonna pop off. Make sure that there's no comments. Good topic today. Greetings. What do you think about Robbins? I think he's sort of a negative person. What about Tracy? 100% correct. Yeah, I would say Tony Robbins, you know, honestly, great guy. You know, he's grown himself, but he hasn't really grown his influence. You know, he hasn't provided the content and or the events that have really just, because he's grown exponentially. But his events, yes, there's more people attending them. Yes, you know, maybe there's more influence on the people that attend those events, but he himself hasn't really produced the content. I'm kind of disappointed, actually. You know, when I went to him in 2009, I went to him in 2009, 2011, 2012. Then I went on his Fiji, his Business Mastery, his Date with Destiny. I went on all those things, and it just transformed my life. Am I going to go back? Of course. But are the events getting better? Is it kanai, constant never-ending improvement? Is it kaizen, as they say in Japan? So the two things we have to remember is that we choose the state to be in. We choose it, okay? The different emotions, different feelings, okay? Number two is that it really comes down to the fact that we're not living up to our potential. That's where unhappiness comes from. We go to work and we think, I should be making more money, or I should be having more influence, or I should be having a better relationship, or I wish my kids weren't fill in the blank, you know, doing better. I wish they were doing better in school or better in sports or whatever the case is that's where unhappiness comes from, is that not living to the potential that you have set. And by the way, this is all arbitrary. This is all subjective, because my influence is totally different than Bezos and Zucks and Musk, okay? Totally different. If it was that, I would be depressed. You know, I'm gonna be going to Mars. Yeah, okay, that's an insane, realistic, unrealistic goal for me, yes, okay? But it's living into your potential. So if you guys have any questions, leave in the comments below. I think today is one of those things that we feel that we're entitled to happiness. We feel that if we get something, then we will be happy. Money, fame, glory, more followers, maybe a video goes viral, and it's that temporary high. It's temporary. That's it, okay? So we have to understand throughout life that we choose the feelings, we choose the states, we choose what we're doing, whether that's the job, to get married, to have kids. You choose that. You chose that. Take full responsibility, take full accountability. You bought the dog. You chose to get into that. I choose not to get married. I choose not to be a doctor, okay? I choose not to get a dog or a pet or anything because I'm way too selfish with my time. That's really what it comes down to. So I hope this helps. I just got 4% battery. on my phone. If you guys have any questions, leave in the comments below. We're going to be popping back tomorrow. And of course, as always, what do you guys want to talk about? I have some incredible topics, but I just want to cater to you guys. Number one. Number two is I'm not making any money off of this. So really, long-term think is everything. Long-term think of what's the influence, where is he coming from, where is he going, why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? Why is he taking up 15 minutes of his actual talking time, let alone the amount of preparation, the amount of money that has gone into the camera, to the wires, to the computer, to all these things to go live. The virtual assistant who then takes that and puts it on my Instagram stories. It's all long term. So have an awesome day. Subscribe to the video. Talk to you guys soon.